Last night, Ukrainian air defense forces shot down 604 enemy targets. This was reported by the Air Force Command. In total, the enemy used 690 means of attack, including 90 missiles and 600 drones. The use of the so-called Oreshnik, which was launched from Kapustyany Yar, has been confirmed. The spokesperson for the Air Force Command, Yuri Inat, noted that the strike hit the Bila Tserkva district. No further details are available yet. In addition, the Russians used 2 Kinzhal missiles, 3 Zircon missiles, 30 Iskanders, and more than 50 other missiles. There are already 56 people injured as a result of the enemy's attack on the capital. 30 of them are being treated in city hospitals, including 2 children. At this time, it is known that 2 people have died. These are 2 women, aged 86 and 44, according to Kyiv Mayor Vitaly Klitschko. Rescuers are still clearing debris at some locations. The strike on Kyiv last night was perhaps the most powerful since the beginning of the war. At least 27 apartment buildings were damaged, most of them in the Shevchenkivsky district. The Lukyanivsky market was destroyed, as well as a shopping center. The Chernobyl museum was obliterated, and 2 schools and cars were damaged. Strikes were recorded at more than 40 locations. By morning, fires were still burning at 20 of them. All districts of the capital were affected. The blast even reached the main post office. The windows in the building were blown out. Many cafes on Khreshchatyk were damaged. At many locations and on rooftops, there are fallen drone and missile fragments.
Several hundred aerial targets. Ballistics, cruise missiles, drones. A large number of people were injured. Buildings were destroyed. At each of the impact sites, headquarters have been set up. Please reach out.
And now we will get all the latest information about the attack on Kyiv from our correspondent Christina Havrish. She has been working at the sites of the strike since early morning. She is live with us now. Christina, hello again. What is known at the moment? Where are you now at this location, and what kind of destruction is there?
Hello, Slava. Unfortunately, the grim statistics of casualties are being updated, and the State Emergency Service told us that the number may still change because the debris is still being cleared. We are now in Lukyanivka. As you can see, everything here has been cordoned off with white tape so that people don't pass through, because the State Emergency Service workers are still working there. It's still smoldering there, and they're still putting out the flames. As you can see, everything is covered in black smoke. It's very hard to breathe. Some people are wearing masks so they can move around here. People from neighboring buildings say that it's even hard to stay inside their apartments right now. Last night, the Russian occupiers turned Lukyanivka into a complete scorched wasteland. I live nearby, and I have to say that this night was truly the scariest. This is where it thundered the most, where there were the most explosions. A fragment of a Shahed drone was found on my building as well. And here, as you can see, shopping centers have been destroyed, supermarkets and cafes have been ruined. People, on one hand come here in despair, but on the other hand, they come together and support each other. We were told a story that one girl ran here because her wedding dress was in this shopping mall. Her wedding is supposed to be in 2 weeks. And already there are people who have said they will help her and find her that dress. And also nearby on Belaruska Street, please show it, there is serious destruction there as well. A Shahed drone hit between the 9th and 8th floors of the building. Several apartments were completely destroyed. Fortunately, there were no people there at the time. They had gone down to the shelter. There are no serious injuries there, only minor ones, just some scratches on people. Thank God there were no serious casualties, but the building is completely shattered. The windows were blown out, the doors were blown out. We spoke with a family who ended up literally under the rubble with their 2-year-old child. They are still recovering from the shock. Please listen to them.
There was no sound.
Yes.
No rumble, no whistling, nothing,
Just in a moment. The impact happened very quickly.
the house shook like this, and then everything just started to fly apart. Doors, windows, everything was just falling on top of you.
Were you trapped too?
Well, by the door. Of course, we shielded the child with our bodies. And the door over there broke in half, so it wasn't heavy, let's say. It was fine.
You can live here if you repair it.
No doors, no balcony, but...
All the interior doors were completely blown out. I just don't understand what kind of blast wave it was, that the doors are broken from the inside.
The clearing of debris continues on Detirivska Street as well. Here, an entire entrance of a 5-story building has completely collapsed. The situation here is the most critical. About an hour ago, we were told there were 4 injured, but unfortunately, there may still be people trapped under the rubble. Rescuers continue to carefully clear the debris in hopes of saving someone else if they're lucky. And people who live nearby in the neighboring entrance or building say that the explosion was of terrifying force. They are convinced that it was most likely a missile because nothing like this has ever happened before. Everything was literally shaking. And please listen to what they recall about this strike.
We were just standing there in the narrow hallway, and then all of a sudden there was such a massive shockwave. It was so incredibly strong that it nearly knocked us off our feet.
It threw us out. It literally threw us right into the entrance. But we weren't injured, thank God. Everything is fine with us.
We survived only because we were in the hallway. We ignored the air raid siren, but as soon as we did, there were explosions one after another. Well, I mean, if you go to the shelter, there's a chance that while you're on your way there, you'll get caught in it.
As of now, it is known that there are 2 dead and 56 wounded, among them at least 3 children. Slava.
Kristia, thank you very much for your work. This is Kristina Havrish, who has been monitoring the situation in Kyiv since early morning at various sites of Russian strikes. In Kyiv, it is already known about 2 people killed. They are women aged 86 and 44. The Russians killed them in the Shevchenkivsky district of the city. More than 50 other residents of the capital have been wounded. Ole Endriksson will tell us more about the situation in Kyiv after one of the most massive attacks. He is with us now, reporting from the site of one of the strikes. Ole, greetings to you. What details are known at the moment?
Slava, good morning. Although it's hard to call it a good one. The capital is trying to recover after one of the largest attacks in recent years. More than 40 locations have been damaged. In particular, in the Shevchenkivsky district, the enemy struck a 5-story building. It's right behind me. There was destruction from the 1st to the 5th floors. A fire broke out. Unfortunately, 2 people have been found dead. They are injured as well. Firefighting efforts are ongoing, and we managed to speak with a local resident. The man is injured. Next, I suggest we listen to his story about how he saved himself and his dog.
Bilka and I don't go to the bomb shelter because she's already an elderly lady and she just can't be there. The first explosion was well, there were many, but this one was very strong, somewhere nearby. I thought maybe it was our house or maybe somewhere close by. So I thought something really terrible was about to happen. I rushed into the room after her, and then suddenly it hit. The entire window frame and even the heavy bricks went flying everywhere. The massive blast wave just carried me far away.
As of now, at least 56 civilians are known to have been injured. Most of them have been hospitalized, 3 are in serious condition. Mayor Vitaly Klitschko also reported that 2 teenagers were hospitalized in moderate condition. They are a 12-year-old girl and a 15-year-old boy. The enemy attacked Kyiv for more than 6 hours. They struck with drones, ballistic and cruise missiles. As a result of the attack, dozens of fires broke out in the city. Rescuers are still working at some of the locations.
There were calls to more than 40 locations. There were a lot of calls, a lot of direct hits to residential buildings and civilian infrastructure in particular. At the moment, we see a destroyed shopping center, a supermarket, stores where people worked. There's a bus stop nearby and residential buildings are close as well.
Due to Russian strikes, damage has been recorded in all districts of the city. At least 27 apartment buildings have been damaged in Kyiv, most of them in the Shevchenkivsky district. The market here has also been completely burned down. Across the city, office and administrative buildings, a school and a dormitory have been damaged. Among other things, Russia also struck the ancient Kyiv Reserve, which nearly destroyed the National Chernobyl Museum, whose reopening after renovations had been announced just a few days ago. The official page of the reserve states that numerous architectural monuments have been damaged, including the contract house. Right in the very center of Kyiv, on Maidan, the main office of Ukrposhta, known throughout the country, has been damaged. The windows were blown out there, and in the Holosivsky district, a tennis court caught fire due to the enemy attack. Extinguishing the fire was complicated by the discovery of a warhead from an enemy munition. Sappers were at work. We continue to work in this district as well. Unfortunately, there is plenty to film here, and in our next reports we will talk about the details. New details.
Thank you, Ole. We are waiting for new information. That was Ole Endrickson reporting on the aftermath of the combined massive attack on Kyiv last night, where it is already known that 2 people have died and more than 50 have been injured. Another 2 people were killed and 9 injured as a result of last night's Russian attack on the Kyiv region. Among the injured is a girl who is not even a year old yet. According to the regional military administration, Russian occupiers killed men in the Bucha and Obukiv districts. The enemy strike did not spare any of the region's 7 districts. In particular, in Festive district, private houses and an apartment building were destroyed. 2 women were hospitalized. 3 other civilians received medical assistance at the scene. In the other 6 districts of the Kyiv region, more than 30 private homes, 5 apartment buildings, shops, businesses, as well as educational and medical institutions were damaged. Rescuers, medical personnel, police, and all emergency services are working at the sites of the enemy strikes. 11 people, including 2 children, were injured as a result of the Shahed drone attack in Cherkasy. 3 are currently in the hospital. An enemy drone struck a residential building. A fire broke out in apartments from the 5th to the 9th floors. Rescuers managed to free 9 people. Another 34 people sought help from psychologists. In the Zolotonosha district of the region, a cruise missile damaged an inactive farm. There were no casualties there. Last night in the Cherkasy region, air defense forces and mobile fire groups neutralized 8 Russian missiles and 22 drones. At night, Russian occupiers used the Oreshnik medium-range ballistic missile against Ukraine for the 3rd time since the start of the full-scale war. The enemy launched it from the Kapustin Yar training ground in the Astrakhan region. This information was confirmed by our Air Force Command. The ballistic missile fell in the Bila Tserkva district of the Kyiv region. And as I already mentioned, the main target of the enemy this night was Kyiv. In total, during the massive combined strike, Russian occupiers launched 600 attack drones at Ukraine, 549 of which were neutralized. They used 90 missiles, 55 of which were neutralized. Another 19 missiles likely did not reach their targets. Information about them is being clarified. At present, it is known that 11 out of 30 Iskander ballistic missiles were shot down or suppressed. 44 out of 54 cruise missiles of various types were also neutralized. Last night, Russia also launched 2 Kinzhal aeroballistic missiles and 3 Zircon anti-ship missiles. According to preliminary information, 16 missiles and 51 attack drones struck 54 locations. In another 23 places, debris from enemy hardware fell. And the president of Ukraine, Volodymyr Zelensky, has already responded to the attack. Let's listen further.
Dear Ukrainians, since last night, rescue workers and essential services have been operating everywhere they are needed. Everyone who was injured by this strike will receive assistance. This is our duty, and the state will fulfill it. I am grateful to each and every one of you who is working on the ground after the strikes to help our people. It is now known that at least 83 people have been injured since the beginning of the day. Unfortunately, there are fatalities. My condolences to the families and loved ones. It was a heavy strike. 90 missiles of various types, including many ballistic ones, 36 of them, 600 drones. Unfortunately, not all of the ballistic missiles were intercepted. Most of the strikes hit Kyiv, and Kyiv was the main target of this Russian attack. Putin can't even pronounce the word hurrah properly anymore, he mumbles, yet he still defeats residential buildings with his missiles. 3 Russian missiles targeted a water supply facility, set a market on fire, damaged dozens of residential buildings and several ordinary schools. He launched his Oreshnik against Bila Tserkva. Honestly, they're just not right in the head. It's important that this does not go without consequences for Russia. Today, everyone in the world who does not remain silent, who helps Ukraine, is a defender of life. It is very important to keep working so that Ukraine has air defense, especially against ballistic missiles. Having Russia as a neighbor is a constant threat. Our people in Ukraine are holding back and stopping this threat, but the world should clearly see who you are dealing with. It is the 5th year of the full-scale war, and from the very first seconds, it has been an unprovoked terrorist war by Russia against life. We are doing everything to establish peace and protect people. Everything. And it is important that Ukraine is not left alone. Decisions are needed from the United States of America, from Europe, and from others, so that this old hazel in Moscow finally utters the word peace. Thank you to everyone who is helping. Glory to Ukraine.
Glory to the heroes. The Russian strikes on Kyiv were condemned by Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney. He emphasized that Russia continues to underestimate the courage of Ukrainians and called on the Kremlin to end the war, as such attacks only prolong human suffering and in no way change the fact that Russia is losing this war.
For more than 4 years since the Russian invasion, Russia continues to underestimate the courage, determination, and resilience of the Ukrainian people, even as the Putin regime relentlessly bombs Ukraine's energy infrastructure, schools, hospitals, and homes. We call on Russia to immediately cease these strikes and put an end to this illegal war of aggression.
Not only to warn about another massive Russian strike on Ukraine, but also to use leverage over Moscow. This is what Ukraine's Minister of Foreign Affairs, Andriy Sybiha, called on our international partners to do. He emphasized that sympathy alone is not enough. Ukraine needs concrete actions that will immediately increase the cost of war for the aggressor. And this will be the best way to express solidarity with the Ukrainian people, the minister stressed.
It is time for our partners to turn their solidarity with Ukraine into concrete actions. We are grateful to you for the warning about the large-scale strike, and we understand your cautions addressed to your citizens. But the main warning should not be sounded in Kyiv or for foreigners. This warning must be heard in Moscow by the Russian regime. You have leverage. Use them now. Warn Moscow about the price it will have to pay, both publicly and through closed channels.
Explosions rang out at dawn in temporarily occupied Luhansk as well. A large-scale fire broke out. According to Telegram channels, an oil depot caught fire in the city. It supplies fuel, including to Russian military equipment. It was also loud last night in temporarily occupied Melitopol in the Zaporizhzhia region. Explosions were also heard in the city. According to preliminary information, enemy logistics infrastructure was hit.